I worked at Amazon, invested in stocks early, and now I'm semi-retired in my 30s. But if I could go back, here's what I would tell my 22-year-old self about money. At 22, I was starting my career in Silicon Valley as a corporate software developer. I was making good money and I had a pretty good life at that point. But the problem was I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was spending all my money in trying to look rich instead of actually building a foundation for my future. I was working really hard and trying to level up in life, and I decided that the only way I was gonna make it in life is by constantly switching jobs for more salary. And I always had this employee mindset in life. I was always thinking about how can I make more money through a paycheck instead of actually trying to think about being financially free. I was never the smartest person. I'm gonna tell you some of my mistakes, and maybe you'll see some of yourself and be able to speed run these mistakes in your life. Some of the mistakes I made was, one, I would spend all of my paycheck on rent. I was renting an apartment that I clearly couldn't afford, but I wanted to live in it so I could have a great social life through events and make friends. In retrospect, that really set me back because I couldn't build a solid foundation in assets. The other mistake was actually thinking that my employer cared about me. I had such a strong employee mindset that I actually thought someone gave a shit about me. The true reality that struck me in my 30s was no employer actually cares about you. It's all a giant capitalist mindset that you should have, and know that no one owes you anything. You gotta be mercenary when it comes to jobs, when it comes to starting a business, and you can't really put your trust and faith into a paycheck or into one employer. Time is your biggest ally when you're young. Look, a lot of people are going to tell you that, hey, cut down on your lifestyle and put all of your money into assets. Buy Bitcoin, buy the S&P 500, buy real estate. Well, it doesn't make sense to do that when you're 20, when you're just making your first income. Putting all of it into these risk assets and not investing in yourself is actually, I think, a mistake. I had that problem. I signed up for this company's paycheck, and every month they would take 1/3 of my money and put it into a retirement account when I'm 22. Doesn't make any sense, because I should have taken out that money and actually put that into a course or getting a mentor or trying out some online business instead of investing the money. It doesn't make sense to just put everything into an asset and then live like a hermit. So the change I would make is you can still live a life. No one's saying you shouldn't have fun, but at the same time, you can have a reasonably fun life in your 20s, but stack paper to put into something that you're gonna go all into. That could be an agency, it could be using AI to create a course, it could be in content marketing, it could be whatever you think is something that's suited to you. But putting everything into boomer stocks when you're 20 is not a way to actually get rich. When I was young, I had coworkers, I had friends who would live paycheck to paycheck despite having one of the most amazing jobs in America, paying 6 figures a year, $300,000 a year, and yet the lifestyle expenses would make them spend their entire paycheck, and they were not able to lay a solid foundation for their lives. So in one example I'm going to give you is of a friend I'm going to call name for this video as Chris. Chris, once he got his first paycheck from his job, he put 1/3 down into a lease for a BMW 3 Series. The car was amazing, to be honest with you. It was a great car and it gave a lot of pleasure in the moment, but setting back that amount of money and not being able to put the money to work really sets you back by many, many years. That taught me that this is not cool. This is not something that I'm okay with. I don't want to put something into like a Veblen good that keeps depreciating when I actually should be trying out business ideas on the side to see what sticks. So that brings me to my current state. I'm in my 30s, coming up on 40, and I have an appreciation for time and buying back my time with my money, and that is my definition of freedom. Freedom isn't having a bunch of assets for me or trying to stack a bunch of assets. It's actually the ability to use your money to buy back your time. When I talk about assets, I'm referring to assets that depreciate in value, like a really nice car, watches, high fashion. These are things that depreciate over time, and these are not great to actually own. My focus shifted from wanting to flex to wanting to build a solid foundation of assets that actually cash flow. These are assets that you actually want to own and not the ones that depreciate. So look at turning your money into actual employees. where they go out and they are deployed into assets, where the assets actually bring you wealth and they actually increase your wealth instead of being locked up and depreciating every year. So if you treated your money as employees, you wouldn't want your employees to be sitting around, right, and just chilling all day. You'd expect them to be working for you non-stop. That's the perspective you need to look at when you look at money and assets. Wealth creation in life happens in one or two really big events where you go all in. It doesn't come from making systematic, everyday, every month investments. It actually comes from making that one all-in trade that just sets you up for life. Personal example from my life was I decided to withdraw my 401k retirement account and put all of it into Tesla in 2013. This was something that everyone told me not to do, and conditioning, financial conditioning tells you that you shouldn't take this much risk on one asset. But I had so much conviction because of people I was following, because of looking at the market and having foresight, that I just decided to go all in at that time, and that turned out to be a 100x trade. That 100x moment made me enough money and gave me a stable foundation to be able to take on even more risk. Quick summary of everything we spoke about. One is you actually have enough time. There's no need to put yourself in a prison where you are killing all your living expenses and putting everything into certain assets. You have enough time. Do not be in a rush. Have patience. Two is most of your wealth is made from one all-in trade. So do not think that wealth creation happens because of monthly steady investments. It happens when you go all into one conviction trade, and then you have enough capital to do another and another until one of them eventually works out. Losing the employee mindset and not being tied to your paycheck, thinking about ways to unshackle yourself from your day job, where your day job does not dictate your life. And four, not actually living a life of a millionaire while having the assets. Make sure you first have the assets, and then you can start spending on stuff that you think rich people spend on. Until then, in moderation, balance out having fun with actually taking risk. You don't have to do one or the other. You need to balance both. If you're in your 20s, you have the biggest advantage possible on this planet. You are what is known as a time billionaire. You're a billionaire when it comes to time, so do not feel stressed. It's never too late. If I can make a change to my life in my 30s, you have enough time to start that business, to go out and find a mentor, to actually try out that idea that you always wanted to. You have time, and it's never too late. You can check my video out where I tell you how I started working on my personal brand in my 30s and why I decided to do this and how it changed my life.